ex-husband used to give me the silent treatment, also called stonewalling. It would usually last about 2 weeks and he would completely ignore me. Like I would ask him a direct question and it's like I wasn't even there. And at first when this would happen, I would get so upset. So many tears. I would wonder what I had done to deserve this. Like, oh my God, I'm such a terrible wife. But the longer our marriage went on and the more frequently he would do this, the less upset I was getting. I started to accept it, like, oh God, here we go again. And that would kind of walk on eggshells a little bit. But I never could figure out what the trigger was. So I was constantly like replaying what had just happened, trying to figure out what had caused it. But then you know what happened? And I realized that over the course of our marriage and all the countless times that he ignored me, all he was doing was teaching me how to live without him.
Hey guys, hi YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So I came across the story of this woman that pretty much said that the husband was doing so much silent treatment that in the end they ended up divorcing. So she noticed that the guy would constantly be going to do the silent treatment a lot of times when they were on trips. So if it would get upset about something, or they were arguing or whatever, he would go for weeks and weeks without talking to her. So she said she put up with it for quite a while, and then later on just was like, you know what, I am done. I'm gonna go get the divorce papers. I'll bring it over. You can sign it, and we're done. The funniest thing is when she brought the divorce papers, she highlighted everything where he needed to sign, put the post-it notes and everything like that. And he was like, wait, you're actually serious? Like, he didn't believe it. So she puts the thing down and the guy's just like going weeks and weeks without signing the papers because he still didn't believe that the lady was actually leaving. So silent treatment is not good. I say that because I'm somebody that did that in my past relationship. I told this story. I'll leave it down below if you guys want to watch my video, my story. But I was with this person for 6 years who pretty much it didn't work out and things like that. This person, when I was in the relationship, I wasn't doing good, meaning mentally. I just did not, I wasn't myself. I tried to change things about me to make this person happy. And literally this person always had something to say about everything that I did. And at the end of the day, I realized that I wasn't the person for him. That's why they had issues with me. So this person would bring up, for example, that I needed to lift weights and I needed to work out. They were constantly watching everything that I was cooking, and they were like, you know, you're not supposed to eat that. You're not supposed to cook with that. And, you know, you might say there's no issue with that. Like what's the problem? You know, if somebody's telling you, like, let's eat better, what's the problem? It's the tone and how it would say it to me. Every time it was something, even told me, like, oh, if we wanted to have a baby, I needed to start working out, and I needed to start lifting weights and doing all this stuff to get my body strong to prepare for, you know, carrying a child. He also wanted to adopt, which is something that I did not want. So in the end, we were not a good match. So what I noticed that I would do is I would do the silent treatment. Every single time he would bring up something, I became this little kid that would sit there, listen to him, and kind of wait for him to be like, are you done? So silent treatment is awful when it's done to somebody. It's awful because I did it, and I wasn't proud of myself for that. But in this relationship, I realized that I was just becoming some things that I did not like. And this person kind of got me to a point where I just was so bothered. You know, I felt like I was being lectured like a little kid, and I literally would sit there and be giving silent treatment. Every time he was speaking, I would be like, okay. And then when it was done, I would get my stuff. Like, I would always visit him on the weekends. Sometimes I would go to work with him. He had a small business. And I noticed that every time that he brought up something, we got into an argument, silent treatment, I would get my bags, backpack, and I would be back to where I used to live with my family. So silent treatment is not good. Anytime that somebody gets to a point where they're not speaking to you for days and days, you need to start thinking about maybe discussing counseling. And if that's not working, you might just leave. Because how are you supposed to live with somebody who's not communicating with you about what the issues are? Every time they break down like I was, and I was shut down, and he would try to poke it and try to figure out like what's wrong with me, and I wouldn't tell him. So my shutdown was a way of me just going, oh, here we go again. There's something you have to say about me and something you have to tell me to do. You know, I'm not going to do, like, it just became, I became very, like, almost just really, really different. Like, I just was, like, really in a really weird state. So, yeah, she mentioned all this thing that they traveled to all these beautiful places with their husband, and the husband constantly would do this 6 weeks on end, not speaking with her. But I love that she had her stuff going on, you know. She even told the guy when the divorce was happening, like, I don't want anything from you. Let's just get a share of what I'm supposed to get and go about our life, because she was fed up with him after a while. Could you imagine years and years where somebody's giving you the silent treatment? I also knew someone who told me about this same thing, where when they had an issue, they had an argument, the person would go days and days without communicating them. They would literally be passing each other in the house and they wouldn't communicate. And so it's just another tactic that people use. I know I did in the past and I wasn't proud of it, but people do this, and sometimes they make you feel like, oh my God, you know, like they just kind of make you feel like they shut down. They shut down on you. And so sometimes, you know, there's some men who will justify like, well, she's not, you know, she's not speaking to me, I'm going to go out there and cheat, you know. So this is sometimes a getaway for people. They get to do bad things and all, you know, and all that stuff. And it kind of becomes like, oh, well, you know, like they pretty much, yeah, get away with doing some bad stuff because they're like, well, they're not speaking to me. You know, they'll go out there and cheat and they're like, well, she doesn't talk to me, or he doesn't talk to me. So I feel like that is just figuring out a way to express yourself. And also, if you're mad and angry about something, yeah, go get a moment. Go sit quietly. You know, let that rest and then come back to it. Because I've noticed now with my husband, what I do is when I get mad and I get worked up and he's seen it, he'll just quietly like tell me like, oh, I'm going to go play soccer or something. Or I'll tell him I'm just going to go. I need a moment. I'm going to listen to some music. I'm going to go do a video. I'm going to listen to, like, I'll try to do everything. And then later on, I'll come back and tell him like, you know, this is this and that what made me upset. Because at the end of the day, I never want him to feel that, you know, I'm you know, like making him feel bad. So I've learned to kind of communicate a little bit better with him, but I also know that he has the patience for me. The person I was with a couple years ago did not have that patience for me. It seems like everything I did was bothering them. So I was always on the edge. I was defensive. I was ready. And my defense was, I would just stare at him as he was talking. I'm like, okay. So sometimes, you know, there's people that you're with that you're not meant to be with, and they will trigger you in that way. And so you shutting down and giving silent treatment is kind of like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to hear it. Like, I don't care. You know, I did that. And I did that for years. And I found myself just breaking down. Sometimes I'll be sitting in the closet by myself where he lived and all that. And I would just be crying my eyes out because I was so upset. I was so worked up. And so my defense was always to give the silent treatment. So to this day, I say, you know, it's not the best way to deal with stuff. Because one person here, he was communicating everything he wanted from me, and I was over here shutting down and not saying anything. At the end, I was the one choking up and hurting. And later on, it just made me feel some way. With my husband, I noticed that I express myself more now, and I'm able to just tell him, hey, you know, this and this is bothering me. And I never, like, I try to keep him in mind. With the ex, I kind of stopped doing that because I realized at the end of the day, no matter what I did, there was always an issue. So sometimes, yes, while it's bad, there's people that give you the silent treatment, and that's just a way of being defensive. Now, if they're going out and they're doing crazy stuff afterwards, like, oh, you give me silent treatment, I'm going to go out there to the bar and start drinking with some other women or whatever, that's a whole nother topic. But if somebody's really shutting down sometimes and they don't want to communicate anymore, you know, it's issues. You know, I know I definitely had issues at the time, but this person also triggered me to the point where I just completely was shutting down. And sometimes I would go weeks and I'll block him and we wouldn't talk. And I just started noticing that part of me that I didn't like, because I was so bothered that it felt like I was being lectured like a little kid every time. And so I think sometimes, you know, I think sometimes we can give people grace a little bit and realize that maybe them shutting down for, I know not for weeks and weeks, but sometimes people not communicating and talking is just because they really are dealing with this stuff themselves, and they're just bottling in a lot of stuff, and there's so much aggression in there, and they're just not communicating. So for me, I'm happy that she got divorced. You can see that she's relieved. She seems like a positive person, and this guy was just weighing her down, and after a while it was just like, you know what, I am done. Like, she was so happy when the guy was like signing the papers. She was like, I don't even care about the finances. Like, you could keep all of the other stuff. I want to move on with my life. So I understand that. I think if you love somebody and you care about someone, you do care about how they feel. You want them to communicate with you and tell you where the issue's at, like what's going on, you know? So for me, when I didn't do that, I realized that that's when the relationship was done, because I no longer cared. I was like, I don't care if we don't speak. Like, I'm tired of hearing you go on and on and on about everything that I'm doing wrong and what I need to work on. And, you know, and I'm over here like, I guess your life is perfect. I guess you're all good. You don't need to work on anything. There was times that I felt like he was super, like his tone was so intense, you know, and I was just like, okay, like, I'm out, you know. So yeah,